Hey guys, Desolator Magic here, back with 100% less weird audio problems today. It is downright comical what was causing it, but not going to get into it. So, many Magic the Gathering players asked the question, what are those idiots at Wizards up to now? What are they screwing up this week? What are they doing to contribute to pissing off the community and ruining the game? And the answer to that is the London Mulligan. Because as everybody knows, London, and really Britain as a whole, is really known for their intelligent, wise, and well thought out ahead of time decisions that definitely aren't knee-jerk or based on bad information. That was sarcasm. They're known for exactly the opposite. I'm talking about Brexit. And now it's actually a pretty good joke that this is called the London Mulligan because it's based on bad information. It's a dumb knee-jerk reaction and everybody's now against it after the fact. For the record, I completely support Brexit because YOLO, screw the EU, and damn the consequences. Some assholes want to come and tell you what to do, tell them to shove it up their ass. Burn the whole f***ing country to the ground in the process, who cares? But anyway, after, a whole bunch of testing and feedback and whatever, which clearly was the wrong testing and asking the wrong people, they're rolling out the London Mulligan for everyone. Everywhere. Yay! So this article is written by Ian Dick. I don't know why I can't pronounce a four-letter name that I've heard before. Ian Dick, who always looks like he just found out how much his medical bills are in his profile picture on Daily MTG. He says, with the release of Core Set 2020, we'll be introducing a new Mulligan system for all competitive Magic formats. This new Mulligan was tested at Mythic Championship 2, which... was that the 64-person one? I've given up on tracking these. The way they named them and the way they numbered them doesn't make a damn ounce of sense. But you know what? Even if it was one of those 1,000-person tournaments, they're all pros. Don't ask pros about anything that affects the other 99% of players because it doesn't apply to them. It's pro-level Magic and a Mythic Championship for money is completely different than F&M for the everyman for fun. So testing it there and getting feedback there was one of the stupidest things they could have ever possibly done. So the wording of it, which is part of Rule 103.4, is each player draws a number of cards equal to their starting hand size, which is normally 7. Some effects can modify a player's starting hand size. Yeah, you think? A player who is dissatisfied with their initial hand may take a mulligan. Why is it written that way? What if I want to take a tactical mulligan? What if I'm perfectly satisfied but I want a mulligan anyway? That's right, guys. It's now in the rules. You have to be dissatisfied about it. You can't mulligan for any other reason. Anyway, first, the starting player declares whether they will take a mulligan. Then each other player in turn does the same. Let me just pause right there. That always was a rule. Whoever won the coin flip or the die roll or whatever, whoever's going first has to decide if they're mulliganing first. I've had people tell me when I'm going second, I don't know if I'm mulligan. Are you mulliganing? And I'm like, you tell me first because guess what? Rules. Do not be afraid to leverage that actual rule because it will give them a tactical advantage if you tell them if you're mulliganing or not. So once each player has made a declaration, all players who decided to take mulligans do so at the same time. To take a mulligan, a player shuffles the cards in their hand back into the library, draws a new hand of cards equal to their starting hand size, so you draw back to 7. Then puts a number of those cards equal to the number of times that player has taken a mulligan on the bottom of their library in any order. Once a player chooses not to take a mulligan, the remaining cards become that player's opening hand, and that player may not take any further mulligans. The process is then repeated until no player takes a mulligan. A player can take mulligans until their opening hand would be 0 cards, which, by the way, I wouldn't recommend. So as Ian Duke puts it, and yes, I did in the last take just call him Eason Duke. I don't know why I can't say your name, Ian. Anyway, Eason Duke says, essentially, each time you take a mulligan, you drop to 7 cards, then put a number of cards from your hand equal to the number of times you have mulligan this game on the bottom of your library in the order of your choice. So if you mulligan twice, you're still starting with 5, but you're going to pull 7 and get rid of 2 of your choice, and they go to Oblivion, aka the bottom of your library. So I highly suspect that the motivation behind this is lands, because when you mulligan, lands are the problem. And if you get stuck at 1 or 2 lands in almost any game, any deck, any format, you will lose. It's that simple. You are going to lose if you don't have enough lands. Oh, and let alone the colors, the correct colors. I mean, if you're running 2 or 3 color and you pull like all red, you're going to have a problem. At that point, you've basically already lost the game, It's 100% not your fault unless you built your deck incorrectly. It's all luck. It's just luck of the draw. Oh, well, I guess I don't get to play Magic today. And that's what they wanted to get rid of, is just the whole, oh, unrelated to any of my actions or decisions, I just lost this game. Wonderful. Thanks. And yeah, everything in Magic is card draw, but I mean, intelligent decisions are what really win games, all things being equal. And remember, it's best out of 3, like bare minimum at any competitive format. So it does all even out, and you're as likely to get, whatever screwed as the other person, flooded or mana screwed. So they wanted to make sure that you draw to 7 to ensure that you get your proper expected anticipated amount of land and you can actually play. That said, you're still starting down cards. If you just really have to start with 3 lands, so you're running like 26 in the deck, you get a 1 lander for the first 7. Okay, what if you mull to 6? Your odds of getting 3 lands, in other words, 50% of the cards being lands, when 26 out of 60 is land, aka less than 50%, you've basically lost. So the last new Mulligan, I legit don't remember where it's from or what it's named, it would let you scry 1. So you could be like, that's not a land, and ditch it. So it was like 1 last shot. But at that point, if your deck was even 1/3 land, which it would be higher in that case, 26 out of 60, it was maybe a 50-50 or a 1 in 3, somewhere in between, extra shot at just getting a not land out of the way. And it wasn't too disruptive. Everybody was in support of it. I mean, that's the thing, is the last time this came around, I don't think I heard one person saying, no, this is a bad idea, the 1 scry Mulligan thing. I mean, everybody was like, okay, you're making Mulligans less devastating and less absolutely just you're going to lose, just death sentence. Okay, cool. Whatever. There really wasn't a side effect. This time, I am absolutely not kidding. I have not found one person on social media or in my comment section, anybody, even in person, not one person who doesn't work at Wizards has been in support of this. And I'm not counting any pro players because them. They don't know what they're talking about. They're greedy. They're all cheaters, and they only play at the pro level, and they don't care about fun. They don't even know what F&M is or how it works. They have forgotten that. They don't even know what casual play is like at this point, and they can all right off. But from the general populace, nobody supports the London Mulligan. Nobody, not one single person. And if you're like, but I do, okay, then it's 99% against you. I've never seen such a diverse group of players who've been playing different formats, different decks for different amounts of times at different competitive levels, all come together and feel the same way about one thing. It's amazing. And yet Wizards went against every single one of them. And that's because apparently we all collectively know how to do math better than Wizards does. What happens if you've got a toxic, impossible to play against, obnoxious, horrible card and it hasn't been banned yet? Like Thoughtseize last time it was in Standard. That card, everybody hated it, should have been banned. Wizards refused to pull the trigger on it. What else? Like Chain Whirler, Scarab God, the Sahili and Cat combo, either one of those 2 cards. Like Cataxian Probe, those are all examples that were banned. So either a card that should have been banned or is about to get banned in the future. Like toxic, horrible card you're running 4 of. If you mulligan and you get to draw to 7, your chances of keeping that in your hand are so much higher, it's ridiculous. So their intention was land fixing, but I'd say inadvertently, but they've all mentioned that they know this is a side effect. They've made combo decks more consistent. And not just combo decks, but toxic cards, toxic individual cards. I mean, even just like counter spells. Okay, now you're guaranteeing that you can start with like an unblockable Merfolk and then a counterspell, or Terramander and a counterspell. I mean, when you draw to 7, the draw to 7 again, that's 1 more card. And you might think, well, 1 more card. What's 1 more card going to do? Let me remind you, you might have heard of a 13 mountain deck. Heard about that one? 13 lands, red deck on Arena only. It was taking advantage of a tiny little mathematical flaw, a little tiny mathematical advantage with how the shuffler and the open hand selector works. And I would say that probably 95% of the people who made it in the top 1,000 Mythic were running that deck. That's what I heard. It's what I saw. It's what I heard and saw on live streams with who they were playing against and what they themselves were playing. Everyone was playing that deck because it gave just a couple percentage edge, and a couple percentage edge when you play 1,000 games in a month is going to get you to the very top. That's just how math works. So this is going to be one of the most disruptive, obnoxious things that's ever happened to the game. And they don't, understand this, care, know how to do the math, Any of them, all of them, I don't know. I don't know what went into this. But the entire community is against it. We know better than them. We constantly know better than Wizards and their stupid decisions. Marvel should have been banned the first time, not Emrakul. Chain Whirlers should have been banned. We all know better than Wizards. We consistently have proven that we as a community know better than Wizards because we know what we want. They don't play the game, we do. And remember, the customer is always right. What we want is what we want. If we don't get what we want, we're not buying it. And we don't want this. So get ready for toxic cards and toxic combos and control to absolutely dominate the game even more than they already are. Which, by the way, is the number one reason that it's standard in the meta is being ruined right now. And it's at least 50% of what was wrong with Modern like 3 years ago. Gimmicky, stupid, repetitive combo garbage like Amulet Bloom and Splinter Twin were all over the place. And people hated them. They weren't fun. They weren't worth your time. They won the same way. The sideboard decisions were automatic. The gameplay decisions were practically automatic. Just boring. Boring, stupid, overpriced waste of time is what I would describe those gimmicky combo decks as. And now Wizards is doing everything they can to make them come back. And what I heard, and this is a little bit of insider information and leaks mixed with some public statements, just FYI, but the word on the street is that enough pros whined and bitched and moaned and complained because Wizards, remember, they want the same pros to win every tournament. That is what they want, because they want celebrities and the fandom and people to be rooting for everybody because they think that's how esports works. I guess they think it's basically basketball, but they forgot that, oops, it's not about skill. Magic screws people over a certain percentage of the time because lands are cards in the deck, which is a fundamental flaw with the game, and you can't. Even if you give people 3 free buys to try to rig the tournament and look the other way when entire teams start cheating, you still can't do enough to keep the math and the probability from catching up with people. You can't have the same couple people win every single tournament, top 8 every tournament, and if they do, they're cheating. Provably in the last couple of years, that's true. But that's what they want. So enough of the longtime pros whined and bitched and complained and moaned. I was going to win and I didn't make it to the top 8 because I mulliganed to 5 and I mulliganed to 5 again and I didn't even get to play. This is so unfair. I'm a better player than them, but because I shuffled this in random chance, I lost. Welcome to the real world, princess. Sometimes that's why you get booted out of poker championships too, okay? Asshole, you fucking entitled douchebags. They just think everything in the world needs to be delivered to them on a silver platter because, I won a couple GPs one time 8 years ago, so now the whole world should bow to me and I should win every single game. That's the opinions of these elitist assholes. And then they all cheat on their girlfriends and start cheating at the game. The number of absolutely immoral piece of human garbage scumbags that are in pro-level Magic, and you commonly hear their names, is astonishing. Unless you're me and you follow it, then you're not surprised at all. So these entitled assholes are like, I want random chance to stop screwing me over. I want to win every single game, every single tournament. So then they said, why don't we just let me draw to 7 every time so that I can consistently play this stupid brainless combo deck and just auto win. That's where this came about. That's where Wizards came up with the idea. Also, a long time ago, I don't remember exactly when, I think it was over 10 years ago, they tried this exact mulligan. They tried this, they tested it, and they found that it made combo decks too consistent. So they dumped the idea, and now they think banning Amulet Bloom and Splinter Twin are going to make it okay for Modern. Like that, now it's the problem solved. Are you kidding me? What the hell changed in the game that now the London Mulligan is okay when you determined for the exact correct reasons not to do it last time? The number one person disagreeing with Wizards of the Coast on this is Wizards of the Coast from the past. Like, you can't even make this shit up. They're that stupid. This would be like Microsoft saying, hey, for the new Xbox, let's try bundling a Kinect with it again. Hey, you know what we should try again, even though it didn't work last time? Let's make it so that you can't use used games at all. You can't sell them. They're marked on you permanently and you can't ever resell them. That went over so well with the Xbox One. Let's do that. Let's try that again. This is that level of stupid. When you've already determined that something doesn't work and you have a damn good reason, a lot of research that tells you that, it's not even worth looking back at and reassessing because you're going to find the same damn conclusion, except miraculously they didn't this time. And once again, to remind you, it's allegedly biased because they just want pros to stop getting screwed over by luck. That's the entire basis. Now, pros and their egos and their results apparently trump all of FNM, all of Arena, all of MTGO, and all casual and semi-serious players and FNM attendees. Wonderful. Thanks, Wizards. But their unhealthy, weird, obsessed fetish with esports, even though it's paper. I don't know if you noticed, the cards are made out of paper. They're not electronic in any way. That's leading them to do some stupid crap. Like, for example, faking the viewership on their esports tournaments and lying to one, investors and stockholders, and two, the actual advertisers about how many legitimate people are watching. Allegedly. So the stupid bullshit rule goes into effect with the release of Core Set 2020. Hopefully they go back on it, but everybody knows they're stubborn and egotistical. So when they know they're wrong about something, they will double down and not admit it. Because as Mark Rosewater himself said, we tend to not go back on decisions even if we find out we're wrong, because basically, to summarize them, we have to admit we were wrong in the first place. And then something about player confidence and customer confidence, because it looks like we're waffling and we don't know what we were doing and that we rushed out a decision the first time. So we tend to, even if it's bad, just go with it. So they are never going to undo this, no matter how much backlash there is. And you can't run from it. F&M, MTGO, Arena, everything. This covers everything. Why don't they just cut the shit, tell people that this is just so that the pros can keep winning without cheating, and only apply it to Grand Prix and RELs above that? There you go. Then I don't have to with any of this on Arena or F&M. It's like whenever they make a change to like a GP or like the matchmaking or the days, I'm like, well, that's stupid, but it doesn't affect me. This does, and that's why I'm pissed off. So in case you're wondering about Wizard's side of things, according to Ethan McDougall, so Magic's Mulligan system has changed several times throughout the game's history, from the early no land, all land Mulligan. That's right, you had to have no land or all land or you weren't allowed to Mulligan, to the Paris Mulligan. I assume that was the one when I learned. And recently the Vancouver Mulligan, which is the Scry Mulligan. The goal of each change has been to give players a better chance of having a reasonable opening draw, leading to a competitive game where either player might win. Ooh, should I tell him? It'll kind of make him mad. I think I should tell him, though. Whoever goes first has a giant advantage that can't be overcome by anything, according to math. So regardless of mulliganing, whoever wins the coin flip actually is probably going to win the game. Oh, and the faster you make the rush decks, the more prevalent that is. I don't know if you noticed that or not. Red deck wins versus red deck wins. Whoever goes first has about an 85% chance of winning. Just FYI. So no, both players already don't have an equal chance of winning because you designed the game wrong. As more and more games of Magic are being played these days across both tabletop and digital platforms, we've gathered data that shows that even the current Vancouver Mulligan isn't doing as good of a job as it could be in providing a competitive starting point for both players. That's because people aren't running the right decks. They refuse to run decks that can survive a mulligan. People want stupid, gimmicky, easy crap. That is not your fault, that's their fault. And if they can't figure out that that's why they're losing, oh well. The Vancouver Mulligan actually mathematically was enough to keep just drastic blowouts from happening, but people with really sensitive, fragile decks will still lose because of Mulligan. Oh well, maybe they should stop running that. It's that simple. I can't turn 4 a Galta because I only started with 6 cards. Well, f*** you. I can't completely lock down the game because I don't have both Teferis now because I started with 6 cards. F*** you too. So a player who mulligans once against an opponent who keeps 7 cards in general is at more of a disadvantage than we're comfortable with. Maybe the way they built their deck had something to do with the chance of them mulliganing. Crazy. The situation gets even worse for a player who mulligans 2 or more times more than their opponent. You think? We also dislike that some of those games play out in uninteresting ways. Yeah, you just sit there with 1 land in play, waving at your opponent and making faces at them. So blah, 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 the game was over before it began and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, if you mulligan twice, whatever. But how often does that happen? If you build your deck right, that happens basically never. And I don't know if you heard this or not, but Magic is a best of 3 format. Also, I don't know if you know how numbers work and probability and the universe and physics. In that 2 out of 3, your opponent is just as likely to have to mulligan. We're talking forced 1 or 0 land mulligans as you are. So it actually is perfectly even. Trying to mess with that doesn't work. Over the past year, R&D have been actively discussing and testing ways to improve how games begin. We've tested the new London Mulligan internally for more than 6 months, and we are pleased with how it closes the gap between a player who mulligans and an opponent who doesn't, and also how it greatly reduces the number of games where a player's deck and strategy simply don't function at all. Maybe they should build a better deck, but I get it, but my decks, I would say the malfunction rate is 1 in 50, where they just do nothing, never get off the ground. And that's regardless of number of mulligans included. Stop running turn 4 fragile gimmicky garbage. That is the answer. The players are the problem. I can tolerate my deck kicking me square in the balls 1 in 50, okay? That's fine, whatever. Sometimes you roll doubles 3 times in Monopoly and go to jail, okay? Shit happens. So in this sense, we think of the London Mulligan as being a stronger mulligan in the player's favor as compared to the Vancouver Mulligan. Cool, but people are going to abuse it to run combo shit. So you've gone way too far the other way. Now, they made a statement about how, oh, the good outweighs the bad. Well, no, it doesn't, and you're going to see why real shortly. If you want to fix the, oh no, my deck did nothing and I didn't even get to play this round, let everybody start with 1 land in play. And then I think you'd have to start with 6. I'd have to calculate all the math on this and stuff, but just guarantee them 1 basic land. You start with an emblem in play. It's a basic land. You draw to 6, and then your deck could run like 20, and you're good. Then you could even keep a 1-lander because it's actually a 2-lander. Like, just guarantee them that at a basic level, they'll have 1 mana available per turn to run their damn deck, and that will prevent absolute just demolish blowouts. Starting at 0 is actually pretty stupid if you think about it. That is the solution. And give it to both players so that both have a simultaneous advantage. Not, oh, this is a control glass cannon combo player. He gets more of an advantage from this bullshit London Mulligan than anybody else. Oh, now it isn't even. Now, I guess, yeah, a green ramp player would get less out of it than a red rush player who runs 18 lands, like, because we both start with 1. But they said that they want just not blowout games to happen. An emblem basic land starting in play would solve this problem. So let's just burn through the rest of this bullshit. Of course, in strengthening the mulligan, there could be such a thing as going too far. Yeah, you did, idiots. A mulligan that's too strong and gives too much agency over player's opening hand could make too many games play out the same way. Why don't you just name combo decks by name? Because we all know that's what you're talking about. There's also a risk that There's also a risk that combo decks could abuse a very strong mulligan to much more reliably assemble a combo early in the game. No, there's not just a risk. That is what's going to happen. That's math. It's not, oh, maybe, guys, maybe this will happen. This is going to happen. This is how facts work. Logic, math, anything, name it. That is factually what is going to happen. That is the result if you do the math. The answer you unequivocally come to is that combo decks are going to benefit too much from this. There is 0 gray area, there is 0 maybe, that is what is going to happen, period. In fact, a big group of people looked at this for months in the past. Their name was Wizards of the Coast, by the way, and they determined that that was the case. It benefited combo decks too much and they didn't roll it out. But Wizards of the Coast completely disagrees with the findings of Wizards of the Coast, and they're just going to disregard them because they're idiots. You know what? I'm not reading the rest of these justifications. I think he explained it just perfectly. Yeah, combo decks. To summarize the rest of his BS, the benefits outweigh the risks, and I don't know, maybe it won't get that bad. I don't know. By the way, they think that sideboards are going to fix this, which nobody uses on Arena, but they're also rolling this out for Arena. So combo decks are going to utterly dominate at some point in the near future in standard best of 1, and they're not going to do anything about it. That's wonderful. By the way, if you've already lost 1 game into 2 out of 3, but you're like, oh, my sideboard will save me, you do realize you have to win 2 now. So you have to have improved your deck so much more than theirs that they have shrunk to so what would that be mathematically? Like a less than 30% chance of winning for you to just like mathematically sweep the next 2. The typical advantage swing is 60-40 after sideboarding. And like even that's high. It's very situational, but that's the average from the statistics that I've seen. So the whole, oh, I'll just dominate the game with my sideboard. 1, they get to sideboard 2, and 2, you have to win 2 games now without losing 1. Good luck. It's not going to happen. So what else? They say this will be more dangerous in Modern, but almost 100% an upside for Standard and Limited, which is ridiculous. If you draft or open in your pre-release pool 1 Planeswalker and now you get a couple extra shots at getting it into your opening hand, oh my gosh, is that an advantage? That's ridiculous. So get on social media, tell Wizards what you think of this, so hopefully they will just get pressured into rolling this back, because this is one of the dumbest decisions in the history of Magic. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next video.